Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Build and Breathe. This is a podcast that is meant to really help you improve your professional life as well as your life outside of your professional career.
I'm Cory Silva. I'm a girl dad, founder of a custom software agency, and a former athlete trying to figure out my fitness journey, here to explore the grind, the growth, and the game of building business and life at the same time.
And my name is Nick Andrews, also an entrepreneur, fitness expert that is published both in radio and TV, and an actor. I am currently building the most comprehensive and value-packed corporate wellness product on the market. Thanks for tuning in, and welcome to Build and Breathe.
We are back, and we are in our first segment here, Optimize a Trend. We have a fun one today. We are going to pit some things against each other, and we're going to ask, which is better, low carb or holistic diet? I think this is a pretty big one. We could probably pit a bunch of different types of diets against each other, but these are one of the two most famous and trendy type of diets or regimes for nutrition that we can probably think of. I have experience in trying both myself. You probably have experience in like hearing it from clients asking about it, and even potentially doing it yourself as well too. So maybe I'll swing it to you first, because I feel like I always start with like my own opinion about it. But like, I'll swing it to you, Nick. Like, what do you think is better? And then explain.
Which is better is a trap question right away.
Yep, it is.
There is no such thing as better, is the short answer for it right away. It's all about execution and it's all about longevity. So shall we say for fat loss, like as an analysis, as a case analysis, right? Like, should we discuss that kind of thing?
Yeah, let's reframe that question. Which is better for fat loss, low carb or holistic diet?
Okay, cool. So now we're going to get somewhere. So for fat loss, what anybody needs in any diet is what we call a caloric deficit. Very layman's terms, you need to be consuming less calories than what your body is burning through survival and exercise. So that math equation needs to happen, right? Ultimately, to lose weight, as long as that equation happens, it doesn't matter what vehicle, what diet path you go on. Like you could be on a paleo diet. Technically, it's not the healthier choice, but you could be on a McDonald's diet. If that equation works mathematically, you're going to lose weight. And to a point, you're going to lose fat as well. Not the best way to do it. I'm not endorsing that whatsoever, but you could. So what's better for fat loss? Both are equally good for fat loss, but low carb will be more effective for more people because it traps you. I'll explain. And this is not also an endorsement for low carbs. I actually try to like veer clients away from low carbs. I personally hate low carb diets because I feel like it puts you on a downhill slope for a crash. But why do people get good positive effects from low carb dieting? When you pull out carb sources, you essentially tell yourself categorically that all you can eat is vegetables, high fiber stuff, protein, and fats. All three of those things make your body feel extremely full with less portions. So the reason most people lose fat on a low carb diet is because they are restricting what they can actually eat, and those things that they are allowed to eat suppress diet, they typically eat less calories than what their body is burning. There's not a whole lot of people out there that can eat that much meat and that much fat, especially if they've never trained before and stuff, and feel comfortable doing that. So by virtue, they're going to eat less. And because they're eating less, they're going to lose weight and lose fat. And they think it's the magic of low carbs. Kind of is, but it's kind of like by accident. The effect happens by accident.
Yeah.
The other thing that the low carb thing can affect is like your blood sugar levels obviously drop, which definitely affects your alertness. It definitely affects like your efficiency in a workplace, right? Brain activity is going to be a challenge. That's not including training. And then you got training to worry about too. So energy levels are going to suck. But because of the blood sugar level drop in regulation, your insulin doesn't spike as much, so your body isn't storing fat as well. It just doesn't have the ability to function that way. So it's a very cheap, safe bet is how I'll put it. But
Yeah.
not necessarily the healthiest way
I
to do it. Yeah. Have you tried low carb diets?
Hello.
Yeah.
You're cutting out very bad, by the way.
I'll re-ask the question. Have you ever tried low carb diets?
I have tried low carb diets before, and I think this was very early in my fitness career, I'll call it, or journey. Kind of back when I was in my late teens, early 20s. And I think this is where a lot of like new fad diets were popping up, intermittent fasting, low carb diets, like all those. And I was trying a bunch because truthfully, I didn't really know what I wanted. I just was trying different things because they were popular. But I did find low carb diets very difficult, and I stray away from them for many reasons that you explained already. But like, people forget that glucose is like one of the main sources of energy for your body, and not just like, and I mostly think as well too, like glucose is also the only energy source that gets past your blood brain barrier, and people forget that. And I'm like, it is heavily affects your neurological state, and if you are not getting enough glucose, you will affect your mental state and your ability to actually like function well. And so that's why it's like low carb diets to me are like no bueno. Like you said, they trap you into like forcing you into a certain state. Your body will evidently want to use, more proteins and ketones and fats and stuff like that as a separate source of energy. But was no good for me. I felt low energy. It was not great. Yes, I lost weight, but it wasn't good. And so I'm very much of the mindset right now that if you had to pick anything, like stay away from low carb, because to me, just the cons of it are just way too drastic than the pros that you get from it. Yeah, like carbs are an important part of everyone's diet. They're an important part of your nutrition, an important part of your energy stores. And yeah, so I never liked it. It wasn't good for me. I don't even know how long I tried it for, but I didn't last long with it. It was not good.
Yeah, I think whenever people do it, it's always like a survival course of like, okay, how long can I keep this up for? It's
Yeah.
not, there's no way you can do that for the rest of your life. I think that's just one, not enjoyable at all, but two, just from a biological standpoint, like you need that. So, I mean, let's spin it the other way. Okay. Let's say you want to do low carb dieting. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Use it as a vehicle. Fine. Make sure you have an exit strategy is one thing. So is it an 8-month period? Is it a 12-month period? Is it is it an 8-week period, a 12-week period, 16-week period? After that time is up, you have to reintroduce carbohydrates back into your regular diet so you can slowly level yourself out of it. What most people do is they go really hard at the low carb and then they just destroy themselves with carbs after because they
Yeah.
were in it for too long, right? They couldn't hold it. The other thing that's really important with a low carb diet is to have one day a week where you do give your body carbohydrates, where you level it out. That's going to do a few things. It's going to it's going to fuel your neurological system for one. So you at least get some blood sugar levels back into your system, right? Your brain is able to operate and stuff like that. The other thing is it calms your hormonal levels down. So it just resets your entire system where you can get yourself ready for another week of those low carbs, right? Don't go crazy with it. We're not saying, and people use like the word cheat day a lot. And I think a lot of people honestly really overdo their cheat day where they null out their progress for the entire week, right? So there's a careful in between there. But if you have like one meal that's very carb heavy on that one day a week, you're not going to screw yourself over. And I think like that's probably my non-numerical suggestion for anybody doing it, right? Have one day, have
Yeah.
a big meal with carbs on that one day.
Yeah. And I want to like say too, I think a lot of people opt for a low carb or even I would say even more dangerous, no carb diets. Mostly because I think people are they take this like very, broad paintbrush approach to their nutrition because they're like maybe they're feeling like they're having too many processed foods and sugars within their diet currently. So they're like, well, if I just like have low carbs altogether, which includes any of the like really good carbs in your diet, then they're like, well, then I'm not having the bad stuff either. So I think part of it, people opt for it as a way of self-control. And to me, it's not a good enough reason to go do it. Like, yes, you're going to get rid of some of the, maybe not as nutrient dense foods as is good for you. But, I think if you're looking for it, you're trying to do a low carb diet, my suggestion, not being a fitness expert myself, is like, if your goal is to just have less processed food and sugars, like I'm talking like candies, chips, all this sort of stuff, then make that the goal. Don't make it like I need to cut out like, bread and like rice and, potatoes and like really just like amazing starches. Like if your goal is to cut out processed food, then make that the goal. Don't like, I guess, kamikaze the rest of your the carbs in your diet.
This is a perfect bridge into like the holistic nutrition part of the conversation, right? Because, sorry, I'll wait for you to come back. Did I just cut out completely?
Yes, you did.
Are you good on your end? Because on my end, it just looks like I'm continuing to go smoothly through the conversation.
Yeah, so I think the way that Riverside works is that it will continue recording you and saying it. So that's why I've been kind of like, it looks like you're pausing, like I just don't talk. I just let you keep talking, assuming you're talking. But on my end, it looks like you're completely frozen. But it should be still recording overall.
Right. Yeah. See, it says trying to reconnect right now. Hold on. Make sure you have a stable internet connection. There we go. Okay. I think I've reconnected. Okay. So, holistic nutrition. So, bridge of what you were saying, where you're going to not focus on cutting out all carbs, but just like focus on like cutting out some processed carbs and stuff like that, kind of brings us to the realm of that holistic nutrition area. Holistic nutrition, I think, is like the least damaging diet out there, in my opinion. Maybe aside from paleo. I think paleo and holistic are fairly close together because they don't teach you to restrict food groups. They teach you to seek out better quality foods. And I think that's a very great balanced approach. And generally, that is what I preach as well, right? Like when I go and assign diets to people, and by diets, I mean nutritional goals, it's on a nutrient based level. It's not on a food group level typically. So I think holistic nutrition has the right idea, and it teaches people to look at foods for what they offer to the body. Where I think holistic nutrition can miss is if someone is not tremendously overweight, if they're already fairly in shape, holistic nutrition isn't going to take you to an optimal level of being in shape, because holistic nutrition as a concept doesn't teach actual targets for nutrition. It sort of just tells you to eat healthy in a broad stroke of ways. Again, if you are well over 200 pounds with tons of body fat to shed, just focusing on a holistic nutrition diet is going to give you great effect and great results. But you will hit a plateau where you're going to need a lot more attention to detail to get you to the place you want to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever try? Oh, no, you have. So you worked with our friend Dana on your nutritional side, and she's a holistic nutritionist. What's your experience been like?
Yeah, she coached me for, I want to say 5 months or so, and it was great. So the whole thing of holistic nutrition, like the question we asked at the beginning was like, which one's better for fat loss? Mind you, when I did it, my goal was not fat loss. Like, and Nick, you kind of alluded to that right now. It's like there's a bit more required, in terms of like actual caloric deficits and like talking about like, like macro amounts as well that play a part into actually losing fat. You can do it with a holistic nutrition diet. It just requires another layer of complexity and expertise. But my experience with it was really good. So I was actually trying to fix a couple other things, which is where I think holistic nutrition is phenomenal at, which is like, I'm talking about like gut health itself. And that was a huge thing. So I gave a really great testimonial about it, and I think she's posted it somewhere. I've talked about it in a previous podcast as well too. But if you've ever experienced like, really like bad like abdominal like gas and intestinal pains, after a meal or when you wake up, or even like sensitivity to like milk and lactose and all this stuff, which is something we'll talk about probably in another episode as well too. This type of diet helped tremendously with getting my gut health in a really good spot. So I started to understand certain foods and ingredients that would cause, like I would say, an adverse reaction in my digestive system. And that, once I learned how to do that, drastically changed how I could eat foods. And I know exactly to your point, which ones to avoid, which options are maybe slightly better. And so I felt like I had a full transformation like internally. And so there was nothing like externally that I felt different about really. I had my fitness plan as well too, but the goal was to fix me internally, and that felt amazing. So I have really good gut health now. I have a really strong understanding of what foods to or ingredients to avoid and which ones that are okay. And also know that like I know better reactions to my body now, where it's like I know if I'm gonna have something, I'm like, this might like cause like a a little bit of a tummy ache or something like that, or I know what to expect. And so I had a really good experience with it. I thought it was great. So I would definitely suggest it to anyone that wants to try it. I think there's a bunch of benefits. Like you said, one of the most low risk diets I think that you could try. The one thing I will say from just like a very realistic perspective, an economic perspective, it generally tends to be more expensive than pretty much anything else. But this is true because like processed foods and more convenient foods, they're exactly that. They're convenient, right? So they're often cheaper because they're created on a mass scale, whereas like a lot of stuff on the holistic nutrition like spectrum, I would say, tends to lean a little bit more expensive. So that's just like, I just want to air that because that is a very real thing with this type of diet. But I still think like the principles you can learn from a holistic nutrition diet can be applied to pretty much any like type of food. Like it just like it helps you overall. So
Yeah,
that's my experience with it.
I totally agree. I mean, actually, a little bit of backstory. I don't know if you knew this, but I actually coached Dana for a bit too. And when I was coaching Dana, the interesting thing was like the back and forth of her telling me her perspective on the nutrition and then me still assigning her nutritional goals. So she had to follow my nutritional targets for her while adopting her holistic nutrition. That was very interesting amalgamation. What I wanted to point out was that what she discovered was that she was missing her targets with her approach. So all this to say that when you are doing a diet, neither can work in a silo. So you can do a holistic diet and you still have to pay attention to the macros of it all. When the two meet together is where you're going to have the best results, both from a health standpoint and from, we'll call it an aesthetic standpoint or a visual change aspect. But I think to wrap it up, like back to the original question, which is better for fat loss? I think that low carb diets are probably a little bit more bulletproof for fat loss, purely from a results standpoint. But you should be extremely careful. So to circle back to the original question, which is better for fat loss? I think the more fail-safe way for fat loss is probably the low-carb diet because it forces you into a corner of what you can and cannot eat. And you're more than likely not going to want to eat a lot of what you can't eat. But from a longevity standpoint and from a health standpoint, you have to be careful about overdoing it for too long. Okay, everybody, we're on to the second segment of our show, Fluffy to Buffy, where it is all about Cory's fitness journey and our approach to taking him to his best self. Last week, we were focusing on more so the recovery process after his marathon. Then we took him through a week of his first week of like true resistance training to see how he was doing. We were also waiting for his weight to level out and to see where he is in terms of metrics. now we're kind of getting into the actual approach to the diet plan. So this week should be pretty fun. We should be going a little bit more on the offense with regards to like hitting target goals, right? So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go through Cory's training logs. We're going to go through his macros. We're going to see how he's doing overall. So
Sweet.
this is Cory in a nutshell from the past week. As you can see, we're recording this on Saturday. He completed his 4 assigned days, which is awesome. Good job, Cory. Give yourself a pat on the
Thanks,
back.
man.
How'd you feel overall through your trainings?
Good. I was very sore this week. Like,
Okay.
so just prior to it, just so you know, like we did upper body, basically back to back over the weekend.
Yep.
And then right back to it, to start as well too. So I think, yeah, I was feeling a bit sore on the first, 2 upper bodies, but then the legs, I was laughing because if you can see sort of there, it says legs, and then he put in brackets, sorry. And yeah, it was a hard workout, but it was good. But I felt good overall. Energy was good. Yeah, no problems.
And Cory rated it difficult. So yeah.
Legs were spaghetti.
Right. Yeah. So just a little bit of like, I guess, to lay down the track from the previous week, right? We just did 2 days the week prior to last week because Cory was coming out of that marathon. His legs were still a little bit sore. We decided to scrap the leg day, just give him 2 upper body days essentially, and then put him into like a 4-day split this week. Even this week, it was supposed to be like not lighter, but getting into now some of the heavier stuff and heavier lifts. So if we look at his days, we assigned him some 5x5s. 5x5s are great for developing strength. So when we're looking at this, and Cory, this is like now the coachable moments and stuff like that, you hit a consistent 185, 5x5. So 5 reps, 4 or 5 sets with a fairly long rest period. That's awesome. Now that we see all of this consistency, next week we're going to try to raise it up just a touch if we can. So we'll sacrifice a few of these reps and get hopefully hitting 195 for 3 reps on these last 2 sets. So that's going to be Cory's little goal there. The rest of the stuff I would like to keep as is because we're going to be playing around with your nutrition quite a bit. So because your calories are going to drop, your energy levels are going to be affected by it. And because your energy levels are going to be affected by this, it's actually very demanding for me to ask you to hit PRs and stuff like that and like to raise the weight. Even with the bench press situation, the 195 is a little bit of a risky task. We'll see how you do. We'll see if you can manage. We'll see if you can hit that target. I'm secretly okay with 185 being the benchmark for this cut. However, let's see if we can kind of ride some of the momentum and you coming back to heavy weightlifting training. Sometimes there's a little bit more give that we can do before we start leveling out and holding. Sort of the same approach on your back day. The first set was just kind of to get your back warmed up, right? But we're really looking for those 5x5s here on the bent over barbell rows. So if you can see, it's the same deal. It was assigned 5 reps for 5 sets with long rest periods. So here we saw a little bit of a drop off of your strength, right? So that 165 started getting really, really rough. Are you using straps for this, Cory?
Sorry, ask that again.
Are you using straps for this?
I am not using straps for this.
Do you have some straps?
Yeah, it's a good question. I definitely used to. I might have some somewhere, but I also can get them very easily. So
let's maybe not worry about straps, but here's what I would like to ask you as well. The barbell bent over rows. Are you starting those from the ground? Are you starting those from the floor, from the ground? The barbell rows?
Yes. I'm sorry, they're from the floor. Yeah.
Okay, so this is what we're going to modify for this week to see if we can get that extra rep on these. Raise the bar to start at least 3 inches, possibly 4 or 5 off the ground. So you're going to start your body's not going to be as horizontal. It's going to be a little bit more upright. It'll give you a little bit more power. It's also going to be a great way for us to mitigate any injury. Again, with us cutting the calories and us starting to dig into your diet, injury mitigation is going to be very important. So risk management is going to be a huge part of this equation too. So for this week, we'll keep it at 165. We'll just raise your starting point a little bit and get your upper body to level out to a higher angle. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Yep.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Just like the upper body push, the rest is going to be feel based. I'm okay with you maintaining what you got here. If you have lower energy on a day, you can ease back a little bit on the other movements. If you're feeling good, you can do the same weight, or if you really feel like you're killing it, you can raise the weight a little bit.
Cool. And actually, as you go into this, what is RPE?
Rate of perceived exhaustion. It is a very simple 10-point scale. 10 being I cannot do a single rep if you like threatened my life.
Okay.
9 means
Gotcha.
I could maybe possibly squeeze out one more, but it may kill me.
Gotcha.
8 means I got one left in the tank. 7 means I got one and a half, and then so on and so forth, right? Like once you're at 7s and 6s, you're like, I got like 2, 3, or 4 left in the tank. Yeah. So a warm up would be like, say, a 5-point scale and a 6-point scale sort of thing, right? And then as you go higher and higher up the weight, that RPE rating would go up to the 9s, assuming it's not a rest week or something like that. Cool. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Which it looks like you jumped up quite a bit from the 90s to the 140s there. So
Yeah.
I think what I would do for this week is maybe just do a little middle ground here. So 7, 8, 9, 9, 90, maybe 120-ish, and then 140 to really grind those gears at the end.
Cool.
Yeah, this is good. So you got the idea. So 5 was 50, and then you have an 8 RPE. So it's an 8 out of 10 on difficulty, and you're holding it at your 70s. That's fine. That's good too. I would jump to 155 on your second set here. So as soon as you see that RPE jump up, you're right where you need to be. A lot of this is knowledge based, right? So now that you've done this workout for the first time, you kind of know where your weight is sitting, where your strength is sitting. So first week is kind of benchmark week. You've set the benchmark now. You can work off of that. 35 pounds for Bulgarian split squats. You are a brave man, sir. You are a brave.
Dude, these hurt.
Yeah. Your glutes must be exploding by the end of that. Good.
Yeah, they were.
If you're doing good depth, good for you. I salute you. Keep at it. Great job. 110. Yes, I love that too. Okay, so targets wise, I am going to just lower the reps for your hack squat. That's going to be the only thing I'm going to change here. The reason I was keeping it at 15 was just in case you're still recovering from the marathon. I didn't want to kill you with heavy weights. I was just trying to ease you back into that volume. But actually, the hack squat is going to be our working section. Oh yeah, I should have asked this. Do you have a hack squat, or are you subbing that with a leg press?
So I was in Kelowna when I did this workout, and I had access to an actual hack squat. I don't actually have access to one in my gym right now. So yeah, if you have an alternative, I'm happy to explore that alternative. But obviously the weight might be a bit different.
Yes.
So yeah.
Do you have a leg press?
I do have a leg press. Yes.
Do you have a Smith machine? Okay, let's do a Smith machine instead. And we're gonna do a Smith machine box squat. I'll send you a video of it. I'll upload it. It's just gonna change a little bit. Obviously, the weight's gonna be different. We'll still be conservative with the rep counts this week then, because you're trying out a new piece of equipment. It's not gonna be apples to apples. So let's find where you're at for that one, and then we'll bounce off of that next week. And as you can see, legs were spaghetti. Excellent. Okay, going into macros, the fun stuff here. So let's see how Cory's week was. All right, overall, decently consistent, a little bit of up and down here and there, a couple of spikes, not too bad. The goal wasn't for to aim for weight loss this week just yet, so that's okay. This today is throwing off our averages here, so but I think from this I'm looking at 23-ish hundred as our average, so we're a tiny bit over. Good job on the protein, better job on the protein. I actually
Than the week before, yes.
Yes, the week before. I actually think you're probably right about on target. Today is throwing you off as far as your averages for your protein targets. So awesome work. When was the last time we weighed in?
I just did it yesterday. Yeah, I was late on it,
Yes,
but yesterday.
early in the morning, 7 a.m.
You got it.
Okay, great. So 192 is going to be our benchmark, and it looks like it's consistent with 3 weeks ago. So we can basically bet that 192 is our starting point, and that's where your body's comfortable. So now we get to chipping away. So first order of business, before we add any cardio or anything in, we're going to just hammer down the calories here. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to chop it away and bring it into a 2,000 calorie plan. We're going to try to strike away your fats first. They're the most calorie dense, and keep the most amount of carbohydrates. So for anybody that's watching at home, notice that I'm trying to save his carbs for as long as possible. So I'm not cutting carbs right away. I'm trying to cut the most calorie dense thing first, which is going to be his fats. You need fats for joint health, for brain health, and for hormonal health. So I still have a minimum that I want to keep on the fats, but I would be okay with cutting you back to say 45-ish grams eventually when we need to. So yeah, balancing out the cut, mostly coming from fats. We drop from 75 to 60. And then we're just dropping 20 grams off of the carbs. So not too much. You still have 180 grams. That's still a hefty amount for 3 meals, split between 3 meals. That's still a good amount. You should still have plenty of energy to work out. Now, numerically speaking, we are dropping 250 calories, right? If you really knock it out of the park this week, we might be able to lose a pound just because of the extra spikes that you had here, right? So if you average out to say 2,400 and we're dropping you to 2,000 and then increasing the intensity of your workout, we might be hitting a 400-ish calorie cut, right? 500 calories per day will amount to 1 pound a week. We're a little bit less than that. So if we can see 0.5 pounds to 1 pound lost during this week, towards the end of the week, that would be yeah. The good thing is, and I'll say this, because your weight is so stable, I'm gonna bet that this is gonna go our way. Usually when you see like roller coasters of weight, it's a little bit harder to guess and pinpoint what the problem is. It doesn't seem to me like you have any issues there, which tells me that your body is healthy and it likes its stability. So now we're gonna throw a wrecking ball at it and lower the calories a little bit. The added cardio is going to come, but it's going to come after we had a bit of a stalemate. So let's see if we can drop a couple of pounds just from this change. And then once we start to level out, then we'll add that intensity probably in 2 weeks or so. Sound good, Cory?
Sounds good.
Cory, you still there, buddy? There you are.
We're here now. Yep.
All right, great. And then last but not least, you have your upper body accessories. This is just like the fun workout. So my one and only question is, did you have fun during this workout?
I did. I didn't realize at first, like the rests were very, very short because I've been used to like these like longer rest periods.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, we're doing 30-second like between sets right now. I was like, yeah, it was cool. It was fun. I did this morning, so it was great. I enjoyed it.
Great, good. Yeah, this one is short and sweet. I see that. I don't know if this is accurate, but I was kind of estimating for about a 40-minute kind of in and out workout. Um, Complete contrast to the other workouts. The other workouts definitely feel like you're putting in work and you're like dragging it on a little bit. This one is supposed to just be a snappy little jolt to the system and then on with your day.
Yeah. It was good. It was good. It was challenging, but it was because it was so much quicker, but I really enjoyed it.
Nice. Love to hear that. Okay, cool. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Actually, well, the last thing is, I guess, like these workouts are going to repeat again next week with those changes that we talked about, right? So I'll modify those and then reassign them back into your schedule.
There we go. Hello, everyone. This is our last segment, Touch Grass. This is where we ground ourselves in the week as like working adults, as men, as just people. And just, you know, we talk about our week, we talk about what went well, what didn't go well, and then maybe what we're going to do to like, you know, try to solve our challenges or talk about previous weeks and like how maybe something turned around for us. So we'll start how we normally start now with some wins. Nick, do you want to kick us off with a win or a couple wins that you've had this week?
Yes. I think a really big one is I signed with a new manager out here. This is a film related win, but for those that are not familiar with the industry, there's basically a couple of slots for professionals that you want to have. For people that are very, very in the know about film and are higher up, you're going to need PR people, you're going to need a legal person, you're going to need that. But at the basic point of it, you need an agent. And if you're in the States, you need an agent and kind of need a manager. They sound similar, but they operate a little bit differently. The manager is a little bit more focused on nourishing relationships and like building you and sort of coaching you in the direction. They're sort of at the helm of the ship. The agent is like a little more of the volume player and is trying to like book your work and trying to get you as many auditions as possible. But it's the manager's job to come in and say, no, we're not going to do that audition. We're going to do this one. Or like, you know, we need to aim for this direction. Let me give you some support. So they might work together and pitch the same casting office twice or 3 times or have a more elaborate setup or a system. So really big thing.
Cool.
And I'm happy about that. I think it's good to have that coming into the end of this year and into the
Yeah. Dude, that is amazing. That's awesome, man. I just hearing your journey as you kind of made it out to LA and like, you know, continuing to build your network out there, both like personally and professionally for you. It's really cool to see. I think you've been crushing it. So, yeah, sometimes it's hard to maybe feel that like as you're being so close to it. So mostly just wanted to like, from someone that's like looking at it from the outside in, it looks like you're crushing it and it seems like you're getting the right relationships and the right opportunities. So awesome, man. It's sick. And you're back. There we go.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, and so win for me, more on the personal side, is that me and my family, we have decided to move out west. So we are, as of literally today, we got the call, made the decision that we are going out to Kelowna. So Kelowna, British Columbia. You know, my fiance used to live out in BC for a long time, and I visited BC multiple times when Nick was there. My other good friend Jade is out there as well too, and I used to have a couple other people in the Vancouver area, so very familiar with the BC life and the cities there. But it's a huge win for us. It's both exciting and scary at the same time, but I think it will be good for our family. It'll be good for our business. Yeah, it's crazy.
And you guys have tons of friends there too. I mean, and I love Kelowna. I shot a few movies there now. One of which is actually, did I mention this? But one of them is going to be on Netflix like in a week.
I think you did mention it.
Okay.
Yeah. You're back.
Thank you. But yeah, no, I love Kelowna.
Yeah.
I can't wait to be back. I'm sure I'm going to be back filming either in Vancouver or Kelowna. And I'm happy that you're going to go there and join Jade and have 2 good friends to visit out there. Look at us making our way from the East Coast all the way to the West.
It was bound to happen eventually. We've talked about it, right? So yeah, man, just super exciting. So it's such a huge win, and we just saw my daughter just like crawl past in the background. She's making a little cameo, but yeah, I'm sure she obviously has no idea, but she's like she's gonna love it out there too. So
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. Cool, man. How about a challenge this week for you?
So let's see, a challenge. So I had my sales call, not a sales call. I had a meeting with a salesperson last weekend. That went really well, and I've been sending and putting together all of my sales materials for that person to get their opinion on it and gauge their comfort level. I think a challenge is going to be to create the right funnel for lead generation. And I've sort of just been pondering that this week, not so much really going gun ho on it. The other challenge is with regards to the real estate related wellness events. I'm hitting a point where I need to reposition and rebrand a tiny bit as the seasons change. It just needs to be remarketed. So I need to figure out what that value proposition is and hit the refresh button on that to make sure that the clientele is interested, remains interested, and the contract keeps going. And last challenge that I'll say is that I need to package that, and I'm going to start pitching other condos in the area and other buildings in the area and see if I can offer it as now a product to other buildings.
Nice, man. That's awesome. I mean, so it sounds like, challenges, but I think nothing that you can't overcome or get through. So it just sounds like it's like really the challenges of business and finding your way with it. So that's awesome, man. They're good challenges.
Yeah, I think this week wasn't too heavy as far as like things that got in the way. Yeah. How about you, man?
Yeah, I would say for me, so we recently, as a business, closed a partnership deal with a venture studio called Martel Ventures, and fantastic. They're based out in Kelowna as well too. They have a lot of influence, they have a lot of experience, a lot of ambitious people, just like a great network, and a lot of resources. So, we're partnered with them. And they're there basically to help us with like distribution. So one, creating a better brand presence for us as a company, creating better brand authority, and then also bringing in business for us, like through their own channels and through making our channels better as well, so that we're not always like dependent on them. But I think for me, the challenge right now is this is kind of the first like real business to business partnership that I'm dealing with, and as the person now leading Six Summit, I'm trying to figure out the best way to leverage that partnership and making sure that I don't leave any opportunity on the table essentially with it, because like we've put up a lot to have this partnership. Like we've given up a good chunk of our business, and so I'm just trying to make sure that I make the most of it. I guess that's the challenge I'm trying to deal with. And so I'm trying to be very, transparent with them on like what we need, what we're looking for, the blockers that we have, the resources that they might have. And I think my mindset with this is just like ask as much as I possibly can, and then they'll tell me basically where the line is. That's kind of the methodology, right? Because they're very open. Like they want you to cut right to the point. Like, if there's a blocker, let's throw resources at it. If they don't have resources, how do we find it? So, they're good that way, and like they just want you to say it. So I think, yeah. So to me, the challenge is just like being as vocal as I possibly can to make sure that the business is getting what it needs, and also like me, like professionally, I'm getting what I need from them since we have access to it, right? So, it's just figuring that out, because like it was like this anticlimactic, like we signed the final papers. It was a couple of weeks of like going through like lawyer stuff, and then it's done, and then you're like, okay, cool, now we need to get started, but it's almost like a little bit ambiguous of like, well, how does this start?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So with
yeah.
that, do you just take the bull by the horns, so to speak, and just say like, okay, well, this is what we can do? Or did you wait for them to indicate how to begin?
Well, so a bit of both. So they've partnered with other companies as well too. They have other portfolio companies. So this is like what they do. So they obviously have their channels and way of like, you need to be like reporting and giving them like context on what's going on. So they create a system that encourages you to basically, you have to do something about it. You can't just sit back and do nothing. But even with that, like I think there's still a lot of things that I've just been having to, I just got to start the conversations and do it. And so that's kind of like the approach I've been taking, is take the bull by the horns, because while they have this system in place to like make sure that they know what's going on in the business and how they can provide resources, they are also still pretty new. They haven't even been around for a year. They have a ton of experience, but as a venture studio, they haven't been around for that long. They're also still trying to figure some stuff out. And so it's just up to the portfolio and partner companies to just like, we're our own companies too, and we need to step up and just take action, right? So that's kind of the approach that I'm taking, is just like take action. Yeah.
I think that's kind of the interesting learning a lot of times, is that when you get into these conversations, you realize that most people actually don't have the answers, and they don't know not what they're doing, but like they don't necessarily know the direction that they're going to go. Like everyone's operating from a place of ambiguity, and it's the space within the collaboration where clarity is born. I think certainly that's something that I'm getting used to. And like you see this even in big companies. When you talk to a big company, the only thing they can really report back to you is what they've already implemented. They can never tell you what they're about to do because they haven't decided yet. They're just gathering data and trying to wait for someone to pull the trigger on it and to implement something.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. So I think to me overall, it's just a new experience, right? And so I think the newness of this experience, something we've been building towards, is just a challenge that I'm dealing with. But I'm not like afraid of it. I guess it's just a reality. It's just what it is, right? So, but yeah, it definitely is a challenge of just trying to. It was the same thing like when you start a business, right? You don't really know. You're like, I'm just trying things. This is very much the same thing. It's like, well, I've never been in a partnership before. I don't really know how this works, so I'm just going to try things. So that's kind of the mentality that I'm taking. Still very happy with like the partnership and like, again, like the network and resources that we have access to. It's just learning how to make the most of it. So I think I'll get clarity the more weeks that go on and the more that we work together, because this is a long-term play, right? So it's not like I have a time limit on it, but it's also, if you do nothing happens. So, yeah.
I think something that I've realized is to create action in accountability with other people as well. So, for example, me involving a salesperson, I'm now reaching out to someone who's a movement and mobility specialist to get them on the team and solution as well, because that's a part of creating a larger framework and a larger vision. But now that I'm involving other real people into it, it's sort of, pressure is maybe not the right word, but it provides wind in the sails for a direction. And that direction will lead you to a conclusion, whether the conclusion is positive or negative or whatever, right? But having people involved drives those decisions forward. I'm sure, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's sort of the same way where it's like, you don't know what your partnership is going to be, but in having meetings with them, there's a sense of pressure and a movement forward on their end where you are forced to maneuver or jump out the window, leave. Right. So
yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So regardless, like it's just like, this will be a positive experience, whether there's positive outcomes that come with it or not. But a positive experience regardless. So yeah, so I think it's good. So I think for both of us, like the challenges are they're more matter of fact than anything else, which is totally fun and totally cool. So we're just going to keep trucking along with it. But I think we both had some fun wins. You on the acting side, which is fantastic. Me on like the life moving side. But it'll be good to be on the West Coast with the rest of y'all. Be in the same time zone. Let's go.
Yes.
Hey, thanks for tuning in and thanks for listening. Please feel free to give us a like or a review or a comment on whatever platform you found us on. And if you want to send Cory or I a direct message if something you found was super relatable, give us a shout on our socials. We'll put them in the description below. Thanks again for listening in and tuning in to Build and Breathe.